It tends to be a fool's errand trying to make predictions in football, especially when it comes to young players. The number of variables, from attitude and application to luck, coaching and injuries, are so extensive that just about anything can happen. At the age of 21, Dele Alli was ranked as the second most valuable player in world football. Meanwhile, Spurs teammate Harry Kane couldn't get a look in at Tottenham at that age, off the back of underwhelming loan spells at both Leicester and Norwich City. There are countless other such examples, but within the world of football, there is one oracle, one font of wisdom, and one authority on the potential of young players that is trusted above all else. I am referring, of course, to Football Manager. And I'm only half joking. The FM scouting network and database is so extensive that several professional football clubs use it, in some capacity at least, as well as some world-class YouTubers. Well, I know of one at least. So in today's video, I thought I'd dive back into the Football Manager 2017 editor database, take a look at the teenagers with the highest potential on that game, and check out how they're getting on 7 years on. I say 7 years because FM17 was released in November 2016, roughly 7 years ago, even though the title of the game is 2017. Without further ado then, who was, incidentally, the highest potential Wonderkid on both Football Manager 2005 and 2006, but was already 28 and without a club by 2017, here are the 7 Wonderkids with the highest potential on Football Manager 2017. Where are they now? 7th, Kylian Mbappe, PSG. It would be fair to say that we get off to quite a strong start. I should point out that I am ranking these from the lowest to the highest potential, so Kylian Mbappe actually had the lowest potential on FM17 of anyone in this 7. But I don't mind giving away the spoiler that he is probably the best player to feature as well. Still aged only 18 when FM17 came out, Mbappe had just begun his breakout campaign at Monaco, in which he went on to score 26 goals in 44 games at all competitions, before joining PSG on loan with a mandatory future purchase clause worth €180 million. It didn't take phenomenal powers of foresight, therefore, to figure out that Mbappe was pretty special and capable of becoming one of the best players in the world. In fact, I am a little bit surprised that he only had -9 potential on the game, rather than -9.5 or even -10, given that, in my 2017 video on the world's best Wonderkids, I put him in second, and I said that there was nothing to split him and the player in first. To be clear, that's not me patting myself on the back over FM. Alright, maybe a little bit, but I think that was a fairly commonly held view at the time. In fairness, my video did come out a few months after FM17, so I had a little bit more to go on. Of course, Mbappe has indeed become one of the best, if not now, the best footballer in the world. In 2018, age 19, he played a starring role as France won the World Cup, and he nearly made it 2 from 2 in Qatar, as he became the first man since Jeff Hurst to bag a hat-trick in a World Cup final. At club level, Mbappe has scored 229 goals in 277 games, which makes him PSG's all-time leading goalscorer at the age of only 24. He will soon become France's all-time record goalscorer as well, currently 10 goals behind Olivier Giroud, and he actually looks to be enjoying his club football a lot more this season as the undisputed main man at the Parc des Princes, following Lionel Messi and Neymar's departures, under the guidance of Luis Enrique. It is just worth noting that Football Manager ranks the potential of young players in ranges, -10 being the highest, which is a potential range of 170 to 200 out of 200, followed by -9.5, -9, and so on and so forth. Mbappe's -9 potential had him tied with a lot of other FM Wonderkids that season, such as Kelechi Iheanacho, Lewis Cook, and Marcus Rashford. That made it a little bit difficult to actually rank the highest potential players outside of the -10 and -9.5s, with so many players tied on -9. But thankfully I found an article on FM Scout collating lots of different FM saves and ranking which players actually turned out best. Mbappe ranks 7th, just ahead of Julian Brandt and tied with Anthony Martial, neither of whom feature because they weren't teenagers at the time, they had already turned 20. Sports Interactive soon saw the error of their ways though, and on FM18, Mbappe was one of only 2 Wonderkids to have -10 potential. 6th, Aonso Souza, Lech Poznan. I know what some of you will be thinking. Who? As good as Kylian Mbappe was likely to become, in Football Manager 2017's eyes, Aonso Souza was destined to become just that little bit better. Aged 17 when the game came out, Aonso Souza was the brightest prospect in Porto's youth ranks and the star man of Portugal's under-17s. A central midfielder with bags of flair and sumptuous technique, both Souza's father and grandfather were professional footballers who starred for Portugal at youth team level, and his grandfather Antonio went on to win 27 caps in the senior team. It seemed to everyone involved in Porto and Portugal's youth teams at the time that Souza would eclipse both of his ancestors, and Football Manager 2017 gave him higher potential ability than the likes of Martin Ødegaard, João Felix, and Frenkie de Jong. Unfortunately, those expectations are yet to come to fruition, and aged 23, Souza is currently playing his football in Poland with Lech Poznan without a senior cap to his name. It took Souza until August 2019, almost 3 years after the release of FM17, just to make his senior debut for Porto's reserve team, months after he had been part of a Porto team that won the UEFA Youth Cup. In 2020, Souza joined B-SAD, which was probably an accurate description of his feelings at the time, having never registered a first-team appearance for Porto. The Portuguese Giants retained 50% of Souza's playing rights, but after 2 seasons of regular football in Portugal's Primeira Liga, he joined Poznan for €1.2 million in the summer of 2022. Souza was actually still involved in Portugal's youth team setup, representing the under-21s as recently as the 2023 under-21 Euros over the summer just gone, where Portugal were knocked out by eventual winners England in the quarter-finals. He still has bags of ability, especially with the ball at his feet, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him in one of Europe's Big 5 leagues at some stage, but better than Martin Ødegaard or Frenkie de Jong, I'm sad to say, he most certainly is not. 5th, Ruben Neves, Al Hilal. Portugal had a heck of a golden generation coming through on Football Manager 2017, and Ruben Neves was among the stars of the show. Unlike Aonso Souza, who is 3 years younger than Neves and was yet to make his senior debut, Neves' talents were not a very well-kept secret already by 2017. A fellow alumni of the Porto youth ranks, Neves made a quite frankly remarkable 114 international appearances for Portugal's various youth teams before making his senior debut with the national team in 2015, still aged only 18. By that stage, Neves was already Porto's youngest ever Primeira Liga goal scorer, their youngest Champions League debutant, and the youngest player from any club to captain a team in the Champions League. That was all over a year before FM17 came out, so as with Mbappe, it didn't take Mystic Meg to foresee that Neves might become quite good at football because he already was. In the summer of 2017, Neves joined Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Championship for just shy of £16 million, owing to the club's newfound Chinese wealth and ties to the Portuguese super agent Jorge Mendes. And though that is a mind-boggling sum for a Championship club, especially one without parachute payments, Neves still turned out to be an absolute bargain. Awe-inspiring in the Championship, Neves was by far the best player in the league as Wolves cruised to the title, and he was their most important player throughout much of the next 5 years, competing in the Premier League. Sadly, over the summer just gone and still aged only 26, Neves chose to call time on his career and retire. Well, not officially, but as good as, joining Al Hilal in the Saudi Pro League. Not unique, but certainly unusual in heading desert side quite so young, Neves is probably the state-funded league's outstanding recruit under the age of 30. Like Jordan Henderson and compatriots Otavio and Cristiano Ronaldo, Neves is still winning international call-ups despite the move, and he has won 45 caps to date. He isn't as good as some of the fellow midfield Wonderkids he had higher potential than, like Frenkie de Jong and Rodri, but he is a fantastic footballer who largely fulfilled his sky-high potential at Wolves. 4th, Johannes Eggestein, St. Pauli. Without wishing to give too much away, the top 5 in this 7 could all be described as elite-level footballers, probably at least in the top 20 or 30 players in the world in their positions, with just one exception. That exception is Johannes Eggestein, who was once touted as Germany's next great number 9, we're still waiting on that front, but now finds himself playing in the second Bundesliga. It's easy to see why Eggestein was so highly rated on FM17. Though only 18 when the game came out, he had already made his first team debut for Werder Bremen, and he was absolutely lethal for Germany's underage teams. Eggestein scored 4 in 7 for the under-15s, 9 in 9 for the under-16s, and 10 in 18 for the under-17s. And he continued to represent Germany all the way through to under-21 level. Unfortunately, his breakthrough at Bremen was stunted by injury problems. Shortly after making his debut, Eggestein tweaked his thigh. Just as he was about to return, he came down with influenza. 2 weeks after that, Eggestein suffered his most serious injury yet, an unusual syndesmosis ligament tear, which ruled him out for the rest of the season. In the 2018-19 season, Eggestein made 28 appearances for Bremen, but he only managed to score 5 goals. There were still glimpses of why Eggestein had been touted for stardom, but injuries combined with a lack of consistency convinced Bremen to sell, and in the summer of 2021, he joined Royal Antwerp for just €1 million. Eggestein had a horrific season in Belgium, failing to score a single goal in 25 appearances, but last season, he at least managed to score 5 in 21 for St. Pauli in the second Bundesliga. Eggestein was the highest potential teenage striker on FM17, ahead of the likes of Lautaro Martinez, Alexander Isak, and Victor Osimhen. Aged 25, it would be fair to say that he has fallen some way short of those outlandish expectations, but he is absolutely flying this season. In 13 appearances, he has scored 7 goals and made 2 assists, leading the line in a St. Pauli team that currently tops the second Bundesliga table, ahead of their city rivals Hamburg. Third, Renato Sanches, Roma. It would be fair to say that Renato Sanchez has had a bit of a rollercoaster of a career to date. It's little surprise that Football Manager had Sanchez pegged as the highest potential midfielder in the world on FM17, given his breakout campaign at Benfica, his starring role in Portugal's Euro 2016 win, and his potential €80 million move to Bayern Munich that immediately preceded the game's release. At Bayern Munich, however, things just never quite clicked. Following an underwhelming debut campaign, Swansea City thought that they had pulled off the coup of the century taking Sanchez on loan in the 2017-18 season, but injuries restricted him to just 12 Premier League appearances, and he wasn't even very good in those 12 as the Swans were relegated. Sanchez still made 24 appearances for Bayern Munich the following season, many of them off the bench, but a deal worth just €20 million in the summer of 2019 to join Ligue 1 side Lille 3 years after he had joined Bayern for a potential €80 million reflected the extent to which Sanchez's stock had fallen. Then came the fun bit of the rollercoaster again, as Sanchez enjoyed 3 excellent seasons at Lille, where he was one of the club's star performers in their shock 2020-21 Ligue 1 title win. If you can't beat them, buy them, that is Qatari-owned PSG's motto, so in the summer of 2022, they signed Sanchez for a fee of just €10 million, plus €3 million in potential add-ons, owing to the fact that he only had 1 year left on his deal. Sure enough though, just as at Bayern, Sanchez struggled to establish himself at a super club once again, and over the summer, the 26-year-old very reluctantly joined Jose Mourinho's Roma on a season-long loan deal. Second, Usman Dembele, PSG. A freakishly talented footballer who, like Renato Sanches and Kylian Mbappe, is currently contracted to PSG, I don't think that a lot of people fully appreciate just how good Usman Dembele could have been, and indeed, could still be. After all, he is still only 26. It would be easy for me to pass comment on FM17 ranking Dembele as the second highest potential Wonderkid in the world, as if it was somehow a ludicrous prediction. But the reality is that I would have agreed at the time, at least with him being in the top 5 or 6, and I would stand by that now were it not for the chronic injury problems Dembele has had. A frightening prospect at Rennes, FM17 came out after Dembele's move to Borussia Dortmund, where he spent a single awe-inspiring campaign. A teenage Dembele looked to have it all. He was quick, good on the ball, got his head up, could beat a man, pick out a cross, and strike a ball with either foot. Again, it might be viewed as bad business with the benefit of hindsight, but unlike with the ludicrous fees that Barcelona paid to sign Philippe Coutinho or Antoine Griezmann, I don't actually think that paying €105 million for Dembele, plus €40 million in potential add-ons, in the context of just having sold Neymar for €222 million, was that bad business. Unfortunately, as we all know, Dembele's time in Catalonia was blighted by injuries. In 6 seasons, Dembele suffered 15 separate injuries, which caused him to miss at least one game, and they ruled him out for over 125 matches in total. That accounted for about 40% of all of Barcelona's fixtures during that time, so it is no surprise that Dembele failed to fulfill his practically limitless potential, facing perennial spells on the sideline every time that he appeared to be building up any momentum. Aged 26, Dembele joined PSG for a shade over €50 million in the summer, and I still think that he is one of the most entertaining wingers in the world. It is probably impossible for him to ever become as good as he could have been but for his injuries at Barcelona now, but if he can stay fit in the French capital, there is no reason why he can't still be a world-class wide man for the rest of the 2020s. First, Gianluigi Donnarumma, PSG. It's fairly remarkable that of the 7 highest potential Wonderkids on Football Manager 2017, 3 were Portuguese midfielders, 4 are now contracted to PSG, and 2 of them aren't very good. That's harsh, but you know what I mean, relative to the expectations of them both in the game and in real life at the time. Gianluigi Donnarumma was the only player on Football Manager 2017 with -10 potential, and it's not hard to see why. When the game came out, though still only 17, Donnarumma had already played an entire season of first-team football as AC Milan's number 1, and had become Italy's youngest ever goalkeeper and youngest debutant in any position since 1911. Since Football Manager 2016, Donnarumma is one of only 6 players to be awarded -10 potential, and one of only 2, along with Eduardo Camavinga, to be given it 2 seasons running. Donnarumma made a further 41 appearances for AC Milan in the 2016-17 season, earning him top marks again on FM18, this time alongside Kylian Mbappe. It is a little bit odd trying to gauge whether Donnarumma has fulfilled his potential. On the one hand, he continued to be AC Milan's number 1 up until joining PSG's super team in 2021, where he is also now number 1. At age 24, he has already won a truly mind-boggling 60 caps for Italy, with whom he not only won Euro 2020, but also won the Player of the Tournament award. On the other hand, it doesn't necessarily feel like Donnarumma is any better now than he was 3 years ago, or perhaps even 7 years ago when FM17 came out and he was only 17 years old. That's partly because Donnarumma was just so good from day dot, one suspects, but I also think it's true to say that he hasn't developed into a bona fide world-class goalkeeper, let alone one that might be in all-time contention, as appeared to be likely to become the case just a few years ago. I don't think, for example, that Donnarumma is in the same category as prime Jan Oblak, Alisson or Thibaut Courtois, let alone Casillas, Neuer and Buffon. So, yeah, it's just a bit of a weird one. He is still absolutely unbeatable on his day. He will probably set the record for the most appearances that a footballer has ever made, at both club and international level if he has any kind of longevity, and he will win all manner of trophies. But I will still say that he probably isn't as good as I thought that he would become when he was 17 or 18. Incidentally, Donnarumma was the only Wonderkid that I ranked above Mbappe also back in 2017, when I said that there was practically nothing to split them. If you reflect on that now, I think that there is quite a lot to split them, which probably explains the point that I'm trying to make. Some other interesting, very high potential FM17 players include Sporting Gijón's Jorge Mere, who now plays for Cadiz on loan from Liga MX side Club America, Kelechi Iheanacho, who is at Leicester City in the Championship, Argentina's Facundo Calido, who recently joined River Plate from Inter Milan, Nottingham Forest Divock Origi, Aston Villa's Yuri Tielemans, Ben Woodburn at Preston North End, Cordoba forward Kuki Salazar, and former Benfica Wonderkid Jose Gomez, who had the same future potential as Kylian Mbappe, but now plays for Ethnikos Akna in the Cypriot First Division. That is it for today's video, but thank you all very much as ever for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and of course, make sure that you're subscribed and have notifications turned on for both this channel, HITC Sevens, and also my second channel, Alfie Potsama, both of which should be on or about to appear on your screens now, along with a couple of videos that you might enjoy watching after this one. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads via the username at HITC Sevens, should you wish to do so, and all of those links plus a whole lot more should be down in the video description below. Cheers.